Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC, where you get information that you can use. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. But before we dive in, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Just Minding My Business on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. I am so excited to bring Heather Florio, the second generation owner of Desert Harvest, leads a company that specializes in medical grade pelvic and sexual health products. Since 1993, Desert Harvest and Heather have collaborated with medical professionals worldwide to research, educate, develop products, and advocate for various fields, including urology, pelvic and sexual health, women's health, dermatology, and radiation oncology. Heather was also named one of the top 50 women in wellness by Authority magazine in 2021, was featured in Forbes magazine in 2022 as a top woman in business, sits on the board of the Northern Light Health Center for Healthy Brain Aging, and presented at the White House on international trade in 2016. Well, welcome, Heather. I am so happy to have you here and can't wait to jump into this important conversation because you have been more than a busy bee.
That's putting it mildly. Yeah.
Yeah, so uh I don't even know where to start. You've done so much stuff. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the research that you've done.
Yeah, so Desert Harvest, so we started in 1993. The first product that we brought out was our patented aloe vera capsules. This is a unique formulation. This isn't what you find in the health food stores. Aloe vera naturally has anthraquinones in it, which are latex chemicals that over time can be carcinogenic to the colon, cause liver damage and kidney damage. What you find in the stores is meant for short-term use in small doses. So what we create is for a bladder disorder called interstitial cystitis. In our double-blind placebo-controlled studies, we had an 87.5% response rate of some or complete relief of all symptoms with taking our capsules. Now, this is like having a constant, painful, debilitating UTI that never goes away. It affects probably about 75% women, 25% men, about 8 to 12 million women, men and women in the United States are estimated to have this. And as a result, our product has a very high efficacy rate. And so we do a lot of different trials. Like for right now, we're currently doing a study at Wake Forest University for FDA drug trials, actually, for that product. Yeah, so we've done a variety of different research. We did introduce a CBD product in 2020, and we spent 5 years doing research before that. We took it to the University of Colorado. First, we wanted to understand which delivery mechanism would function best and how. Cannabis is inert, so it needs a carrier to make it systemic. And so we utilized our aloe vera because it acts as a natural carrier. And we were able to show at the University of Colorado that it's 25% more bioavailable or systemic in the body than any other CBD product out on the market because of the addition of our aloe vera acting as carrier. And then we wanted to understand mechanisms that it functioned for because in our society right now, it works for everything. And so we went to McGill University in Montreal to really kind of start studying different mechanisms of pain, understanding what it actually does and does not function for. And so we had models for bladder pain, surgical pain, chemotherapy pain, nerve injury pain, and all of those, because of our additions, had very high response rates. We had a 56% reduction on the nerve injury pain. We had a 78% reduction in pain after 24 hours in bladder pain, similar response rates for chemotherapy and surgical pain.
Wow. That's amazing. That is
Yeah.
truly amazing. I mean, most people like myself, I pretty much use aloe vera as a topical. I also used it on my dog for
Hmm.
what was it? What did he have? Reflux.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Hmm.
used it for that because the vet had given him medicine and he was spitting it up all over the place. I was like, you know what, we're gonna do some aloe vera juice. And I put it in his water and took the reflux, managed it flawlessly. So I think a lot of people don't really realize the benefits of aloe vera
Hmm.
and, for everyday use. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so yeah, you mentioned, using it topically on the skin for a sunburn. That's how most people become familiarized with aloe vera in our society. Aloe vera has over 200 nutrients in it. 75 of them are actually active nutrients. I mean, you have antifungals, antibacterials, antimicrobials, active enzymes. There's so much going on naturally in aloe vera, and we have documented use. I going back, I think all the way through Egyptian times as some of the first, recognized documented uses of aloe vera. So we have tons of research that has been done over the years. We are very thoughtful in how we craft our aloe vera because we're looking at the bladder. You mentioned juices. One of the things with juice, it's one of the best things for reflux. The one of the because the juice is better at coating the bladder, or I'm sorry, the bladder, the esophagus. And as a result, it seems to work much better for people that are experiencing regular reflux.
Mhm.
But on the downside, aloe vera juice is very easy to be really expensive water. They're only, aloe vera is 98.5% water. And so as a result, you can say something's 100% aloe vera and you're getting 98.5% water. And then in addition to that, there's only two ways to preserve juice. There is the preservatives, which is why we don't make a juice, because the only kind of preservatives you can utilize would irritate the bladder. And since we're very focused on bladder health, we don't do a juice. But then the only other way to preserve it is to heat treat it. Well, again, you've just killed all of the active nutrients. So again, you're just buying expensive water. So it's very important to us. We follow it all the way from field to bottle. We grow it in volcanic soil at the base of a volcano so that it increases the nutrient content. The minute you cut an aloe vera leaf off of the plant, malic acid begins to eat away at the nutrients. So within 6 to 8 hours, there are no nutrients left in an aloe vera leaf. So if you've ever seen the ones in the grocery store, again, expensive water at that point, because they've been harvested and left to sit out and transported and everything else like that. So we are actually, within the minute we cut that leaf off, there's a timer going. It has to be into production, preserving the nutrients within 20 minutes. That is a critical factor for us because we are all about preserving the high nutrient content. And then from there, we utilize our patented process to freeze dry it, extracting all of the water. We also remove all of the insoluble fiber. And all of the anthraquinones, those latex chemicals I mentioned as well in part of our process. And then ours goes into a vegan capsule that we utilize specifically just to help it act as a delivery mechanism while also being all natural and vegan.
Wow. Now, I did not know once you cut the leaf, it loses its nutrients. So this is definitely educational here because I did not realize that. Wow. So some people use it in face creams and
Mhm.
mix it in. How is that, since you have to cut it and kind of get the gel out, does that really work?
You would need to use something as a preservative to stabilize it if you're not using it right away. There has to be some kind of preservation process of some sort. If you're using the gel in a cosmetic product, like our aloe vera gelée for what you would typically think of as using on sunburns. Except for we use it, it's actually been, it's previously cleared by the National Eczema Associations. We utilize it for eczema, psoriasis, acne, rosacea, you know, and people, it actually won the Bella 20 magazine 2023 beauty awards. We didn't even apply for
Wow.
being used under makeup as a moisturizer. And so we have employees that use it for their babies for diaper rash. So that, I mean, there's a variety of ways in which the gel can be utilized, but it has to have preservatives. For us, we have 100% natural preservative, natural origin preservative process that we utilize because it's very important for us to bring natural products and natural ingredients. It is, you know, as concentrated as you can get, 80% concentrate without, you know, and then the rest of it, that 20% is the preservatives. So
Wow. So if people want to get the product, how do they do so?
they can do it directly on our website at desertharvest.com, or they're welcome to give us a call at 800-222-3901. We have amazing customer service staff.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes, because I'm definitely interested because I'm very holistic. I am not about all the different pharmaceutical drugs and things that are out there. I do my research on products before I buy prescriptions. They don't get filled if they got a whole bunch of side effects
Mhm.
because I'm really conscientious about that because I feel like if the disease doesn't kill you, the medicine surely will.
Yes, exactly. We shouldn't have to choose either or.
No, we shouldn't.
And in only extreme circumstances should that be necessary, not for our everyday health.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
My next question for you, you are sit on the board of the Lighthouse Center for Healthy Brain Aging. Can we
Mhm.
talk a little bit about brain aging? Because I'm dealing with an 83-year-old right now, and the brain is aging.
Yes, you know, I do sit on that board. We actually at Desert Harvest, I sit mainly to understand the pelvic and sexual health wellness, which is part of your overall wellness. And you know, they're doing more and more research in regard to Alzheimer's, dementia,
Mhm.
trying to look at different markers and different things that play a factor into the increase in you know, dementia related conditions. And I think that you know, it's one of those situations where we need to be thinking of it very much earlier on about our lifestyle choices, about our health,
Mhm.
about our wellness. We need to not forget. You know, I especially tell women this because our pelvic floor is our hammock for all of the parts of our body. It's holding everything in. And so I think it's very critical for women to understand how to take care of their pelvic floor, that sexual health is a part of that, and that it's not a taboo subject, that it's something that women need to be thinking about to strengthen their pelvic floors, whether it's with a partner or by themselves. They do need to be thinking, not that I'm 83 and I need to not think about my sexual health. And so all of this kind of factors into a variety of different things, whether it's stress, whether it's diet, whether, you know, there are genetic factors for some components of, but a lot of them are related to lifestyle factors and environmental factors that they're finding in research in regard to Alzheimer's research and activating those beta amyloids that are really affecting the health of our brain, and we need to think about this all as one when we say mind health, mind, body, gut health. It's serious. Like,
Yes.
this is you feeding your body, taking care of your body, taking care of what you nourish it with, taking care of what type of exercises and things that you're doing. We need to not think that, oh, you need to go be a gym rat, but necessarily you just might need to do, like, yoga is one of the greatest things that I recommend. The basis for pelvic floor physical therapy is origins is yoga. And so it's very easy to do very light yoga type exercises to help to keep your pelvic floor strong. But we also need to, at the same time, remember we got very, very popular about Kegels and things like that.
Mhm.
And in reality, that could cause more damage in most cases. And this is what makes yoga so great is you're learning your breath work, you're learning how to relax things. And that is very important because most people, because of injuries, conditions, stress, our pelvic floors are like this in a lot of cases. It's
Mhm.
called hypertonic. And as a result, you start doing strengthening exercises like Kegel type exercises without first relaxing your pelvic floor, you're causing more damage. And so I highly recommend yoga just because it's focused on the entire body and learning how to relax and strengthen at the same time.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's interesting. I like yogurt. I try to quiet down. At
Mhm.
least one in the morning is my best time. I typically get up around 4 o'clock, and I find that it's the most peaceful time of the day. Nothing's moving, and it
Mhm.
gives me an opportunity to center myself and prepare for my day better. And for
Yeah.
me, that's been working pretty good. So, aloe, wow, you've covered the bladder. What specifically does aloe do for the bladder?
So in our research, and we will actually know a lot more once this Wake Forest study is done, we have always theorized aloe vera naturally has what's called glycosaminoglycans, which is very similar to what the lining of the bladder is, the gag layer of the bladder is made up of. And our theory has always been is that this is creating a coating in the bladder, because when an interstitial cystitis patient, they have a very raw bladder, inflamed bladder, sometimes ulcerated bladders. And as a result, anything that's passing through there, especially if it's acidic, is going to inflame it, make it more painful, more irritating. And so we theorize that it's coating the inside of the bladder and acting as a protective barrier, while the mechanisms of all of those nutrients in the aloe vera are acting with the urothelial cell layer of the bladder underneath, acting, and while you've got kind of this band-aid over it. And this definitely is not a cure. There is no cure for interstitial cystitis, but we do find, and we've had people taking it. We've been in business for over 30 years. We've had people taking it for that long. So we have a lot of great data on symptoms, on diet, no side effects that we've reported in over 30 years, other than an initial kind of die-off reaction because the high nutrient content. And so we see, you know, right now, for instance, with interstitial cystitis, the one pharmaceutical drug that's on the market currently has, you go into that pharmaceutical, which of the lesser of two evils or something. But the one drug on the market has chemotherapy type side effects. So the only
Mm.
drug that's FDA approved on the market causes people to hair loss, liver
Mhm.
damage. It's currently undergoing class action litigation for making people go blind and causing retinal myopathy, macular degeneration.
Wow.
And its efficacy rate is lower than our product in research studies. And so we are really excited to be able to bring this to, the FDA to present and potentially get drug approval for this, we hope.
Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, 90% of all medicines come from plants. But
Mhm.
the problem is the other stuff that
Mhm.
they put in it to do what, I have no idea, but because I mean, I'm looking at the commercials and it's like, okay, it's gonna cure this. However, you could die, you could have this issue, you could have that issue. So it's like fixing one thing and breaking another.
And that's the problem, when a lot of these things, even a lot of the pharmaceuticals, they start out as natural in origin.
Right.
But when you begin to dissect and change the molecular structure
Hmm.
of an ingredient, you have to understand what that's going to do. Even for us, what happens when we take away all the anthraquinones? What happens when we just isolate CBD from cannabis? Like, understanding the functions and and here it's like, oh, well, I extracted this and it's doing great in mice trials with this, but it might be causing this, but that seems like a low incidence, and this, it's more beneficial than it's not beneficial, so let's go with it.
Yes, yes, and pretty much that's how they weigh it. It's like, okay, we're gonna cure this, but this might happen, but it hasn't happened in that many people, so we're gonna go ahead and go with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much, because they took
Oh.
me. I mean, they had these people running around all happy with these commercials, and it seemed like it's more and more and more of pharmaceutical advertisements than I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like all day long, back to back to
Well,
back.
yeah, and I mean, the precipice of this is really, the origin probably goes back to our diet and our environment,
Mhm,
and because in a lot of cases, those drugs that you're hearing about with the horrible side effects are immunosuppressants in a lot of cases.
mm,
And suppressing your immune system, similar to how chemo would do, but at more elevated levels with chemotherapy. But you're sitting here talking about these drugs that are looking to suppress the immune system because your immune system is overactivated, confused, and attacking parts of your body. And so as a result, a lot of cases they're finding, I mean, even when we talk about interstitial cystitis, it's always been theorized that interstitial cystitis may be an autoimmune condition. This hasn't been definitively proven in research
mhm,
yet, but the etiology lends to the fact that if you take the bladder out, transplant the bladder, and then and take out the unhealthy bladder, put in a healthy bladder, and the same thing happens again, then the question becomes, it's activating, it's going right back and doing the same thing. Just taking something out and replacing with another one isn't going to necessarily change that, because it doesn't change the fact of the immune system and what it might be attacking or what it might be doing. That doesn't stop that. And the only tool that they have right now in that environment to suppress the immune system are immunosuppressants. And when we do that, I mean, the list of side effects are like 10 miles long. My
mm,
mother has spent her life dealing with autoimmune disorders, rheumatoid arthritis, a variety of other conditions. And I've watched the toll that these drugs take on her. But it's like, what choice, at what point, at what choice do you have? For her, it's completely debilitating. I mean, I've watched her hands even on the drugs
mm,
turn and gnarl but can you imagine if she didn't have those drugs? I mean, without those drugs in the morning, until she takes those, she can't get out of bed. And so it's in that case, it's danged if you do, danged if you don't.
Yeah.
And you know, but she has no other options because we haven't come up with any revolutionized or invented anything that would be a better option at this point.
Yes, yes. And sometimes we find ourselves there with certain diseases. Like my husband, he has COPD
Mm.
and they don't have a cure for that.
Mhm.
So basically he's stuck with the nebulizers and things like that. Of course, I do other things to help strengthen his lungs and make it better that are more holistic in addition to the pharmaceutical stuff that he has to
Mhm.
take. But that's the reality. But with people like you who find, natural ways to correct, I'll say correct the body's abnormal, things come up because I believe God put something here for everything. He did
Mhm.
not put us on this earth to not be able to take care of the body.
Mhm. Oh, I agree 100%. I think that everything that we need is in nature. We just haven't found it yet.
Yes, yes. Or we can't capitalize on it. Um, we can't make money from it. So
Mm.
we suppress it in order
Yes.
for people to not know, keep them in the
Yeah,
dark, so
that
to speak.
capitalism, the
Yes,
the joys of our environment that we live in, and especially in America, we value capitalism in most cases over people.
yes.
And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, you know, my husband is a good. You mentioned your husband, I'll mention mine. He was injured in the US military, and he lost the ability to walk for some time. And as a result, you know, that here in the US, they were like, well, we've exhausted our options. Here's your wheelchair, here's your opioids, have a nice life.
Yeah.
And you know, we're like, and at the time, I think we were like 24 when that happened. And we're like, and you know, we had kids, young kids, and what are we gonna do? And I think that we really had to start thinking, you know, for me, I'm gonna immediately go to the research. I'm gonna read the research and I'm gonna be like, there's something different, there's something wrong out here. I ended up finding that there's a surgery that they had tons of research in Europe that they've been doing since the 1980s,
Wow.
since 1980. And they I called the doctors in Switzerland. I got on the phone with them. I was gonna fly my husband to Switzerland. I was gonna figure this out. And that's what we have to do. We have to
Mhm.
advocate for ourselves. We have to do our own research, because here's the thing. Then the great part is you know, I was preparing to fly there. I was trying to figure out logistically how I was going to get him there, who's going to take care of my kids. And then they call and say they've started FDA drug trials in the
Wow.
US. And one of the sites is in Golden, Colorado, right down the road from where we lived at the time. And I was
Wow.
like, and so I literally took all of my husband's records, all of his MRIs, everything I possibly had, and I sat in that doctor's office till he agreed to see me. And you know, got that thing. But that is the problem when we live in this capitalistic society. I'll tell you right now, you know, so my husband now has an artificial disc that functions as a normal human disc in his back to allow him to walk again. And that is still not FDA approved in the United States.
Wow.
Still to this day. And that's 20 years ago he had that surgery.
Wow.
And that allowed him to walk. And so, you know, being able to, you know, then you go to environments where they focus more on social than capital, like Switzerland, like, you know, the Netherlands, Germany, places like these that really focus on their social programs and taking care of their people. And I think that that is why in a lot of cases there's better research in Europe,
Mhm.
because we base everything here on capitalism. I can't, you know, it's a rarity. It's actually pretty well unheard of a supplement going to get FDA drug approval. That's something a
Yes.
pharmaceutical company does.
Yeah.
And we're not a pharmaceutical company. We are a small family company, and we are making this happen because we have an amazing doctors and researchers behind us that believe in our product and see firsthand what it does for their patients and want it to be a drug and are helping to make that possible. Whereas, I think like phase one of drug approval is something like $400 million or something like that, some crazy number. And it's like, I'm sitting here going, yeah, that's not happening. And
I know that's right. So the products that you offer, what other um things can people use it for? Okay, we talked about the bladder. Uh,
yeah.
tell me some more.
Yeah, so we have a variety of fun stuff. So just like the CBD, we have an entire supplement line that all has the aloe vera added to it to make it more systemic in the body and long lasting. So we have that in every single one of our supplements, and we have everything from and we really try to meet different needs. Like we have a B complex, great for energy, but it's going to be without B6, which is bladder irritant, and is also a problem for a lot of people who have different types of gene mutations. They can't have B6. And so we really wanted to target everything we made that way. And then we also have an entire line. We have because we do focus a lot on women's health, we have a vulva balm that just introduced this month, and all natural, and is kind of to help as a barrier on the vulva and to make it therapeutic. We have our aloe fresh wipes that can be taken on the go for women to take in their purse. I have a purse car, every bathroom in my house and in the office. And because they're great just to kind of refresh, reset things, and especially because we introduce so many things to our biome, and that our vaginal biome is acidic, and we introduce so many products that are alkaline, like soap, even sperm, things like this. These are all alkaline things that we're introducing to an acidic environment. So keeping kind of that rebalance and reset is there. And speaking of rebalance, we have a feminine wash that you can utilize for your vulva. We have a sexual lubricant, which is one of only 2 on the market that should go into a vaginal biome, sadly,
Oh, wow.
in the entire world, because we focus so much. I mentioned pH, but there's the whole nother caveat of our vaginal biome, which involves the osmolality. And this is how the fluid flows in and out of the cells of your vaginal wall. And if you start introducing products like, for instance, the vaginal osmolality, optimal vaginal osmolality is 290. And you only want your products that you put into your vagina or around in your vulva area to be plus or minus 80 points. I will tell you that most lubricants, there was a study done by the World Health Organization. This is the only study on osmolality of lubricants that was been done by the WHO for third world country sex workers. And in this study, they took all the lubricants that you would normally see at the store and tested them all. Osmolality 10,000, 9,000,
Wow.
2,000.
Oh,
So can you imagine putting that? So what happens is your cells just begin to dry out, and
mm,
literally they fall out. So you've just lost the epithelial cell layer of your vaginal wall that is your barrier of protection to STIs, bacteria, everything. You've just lost your barrier of protection.
mm.
So
That
yeah,
is,
and
oh my goodness.
yeah. So we have a variety of different products to meet kind of our consumer-based health needs. We do, I wrote, I contributed with a book with a clinician at Duke University, on pelvic health called The Musculoskeletal Mystery. So we sell that book. That's kind of an at-home guide to get you started for pelvic floor physical therapy. We also do pelvic wands to kind of help release those muscles. You can use them internally or externally to kind of help release the muscles. One thing I mentioned with that is you know, making sure that you're using the correct. Now, for men, a lot of the times pelvic floor physical therapy, they actually have to do it anally. As a result, that's a completely different biome. And it's actually more sensitive to pH. And if you put an acidic vaginal lubricant into an anal biome, it doesn't wait to dry out. It just falls out. So same thing,
Oh, wow.
epithelial cell layer, barrier of protection, just falls out.
Oh my.
And because of acidity.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mhm.
My
So
goodness, Heather, you have really dropped some nuggets today.
don't get me started. I can stop talking all day.
Yes, indeed. So again, how do people connect with you and learn and buy the products?
So they can visit us on our website at desertharvest.com, or if you want a more personalized experience and talk with our amazing customer service reps, you can call 800-222-3901. We're here to just talk and answer questions too.
Yes, you're definitely going to have to come back because I could listen to this all day. I mean, I am learning so much good stuff, and I know that my audience will as well. So I would definitely look forward to having you back. And then we can kind of do some focus on certain areas
Mhm.
of the body and things like that. So I am so grateful that you appeared here today, and I have learned so much from you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, audience. You're in for a real treat with Heather.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do more in the future. I've got a lot of new products coming out and new initiatives and educational programs. So we'll definitely have to talk more later.
Absolutely.